All right, you made it. This is the final installment of this Introduction to R series. Clearly you now know how to use everything in R, except of course we haven't at any point used a dataset that wasn't the super boring standard iris dataset. So this episode is all about how to import your own data, how to set your working directory so R knows where to look for data and where to spit out plots, and of course, how to spit out plots. I am, of course, in the Wenatchee National Forest. Someone tried to set this on fire on Friday, so kinda gotta be out here before it burns down again. So for this episode, we are going to be working with a CSV file, and to make sure that we're all on the same page, I recommend you download the one that I'm using. You will find a link for this file in the description below. It's called Intro Part 5 Data. It's from a paper on body mass evolution in dinosaurs. It was originally in an Excel file format, which is a little harder to read into R, so we're going to use it in CSV format. We are going to learn two different ways to import your data. The first way is the easy way, and the second way is the actually efficient way that you should always use going forward. In RStudio, or Posit, or whatever it's calling itself these days, I cannot believe they changed their name of their software in the middle of me filming this series. You're going to go to the environment window in the upper right hand corner, and right underneath it you'll see a little spreadsheet icon that says import dataset. And as you might have guessed, to import a dataset, you click import dataset. You're going to select the From Text Base option. Remember, this is not an Excel file, it's a CSV file. Use that window that opens up to navigate to your file and click Open. And in the upper left-hand corner, it's going to give a pretty ugly suggestion for a name. Go ahead and delete that and type your own name. I'm going to call it BDF for Big Dinosaur File, since this is about dinosaur body mass. Do you see why this is so important? No, you don't? Megan, why don't I just always use the import dataset button? That seems so easy. It's just one button to click. Yeah? Go look at your column names, you fool. What are they? Yeah, V1, V2, V3, V4. It wouldn't be one button, it would be two. Here's the second one that you were supposed to click. Sometimes R automatically detects headings, but in this particular case it doesn't, which is maybe why I picked this data set to show you what you're up against. You should just use code, right? The more data sets you have, the more buttons you need to click. The more buttons you forget to click, you confuse yourself, so you start to get error messages because the headings are not called what they're supposed to be called. Just be efficient, okay? All right, now that you've learned how to use the easy way and have seen the problems there, we're gonna learn how to use the efficient way. One really nice thing about R is that when you click that import dataset button, it looks like a fancy button, but it actually runs in R the exact same way that the efficient way does, meaning that it actually spits out the code you need. See, to import data the efficient way, you have to use the read.csv function and put that into your script. If you look in your console, you'll see that R has already run a read.csv code for you. So you can actually just copy paste that line of code into your script. Just make sure that because you're copying it from the console, there's a little caret of okayness at the beginning. You don't need that. Now you can use your entire extremely long file path every single time that you are importing files, and that's fine. But if you want to make sure that R is both reading from a single folder and exporting things to that folder, you're going to want to tell it where it's basically looking for a session. And that is called setting a working directory. Now there is an easy way to set a working directory and an efficient way to set a working directory. We're going to do the easy way first. Go to Session, click Set Working Directory, and then click Choose Directory. Select the right folder until you close R and return. R will officially look here for files. So now you can do things like this. Just like before, R has kindly supplied you with the code for the efficient way in your console. Notice that for this, it's just the name of the folder. It doesn't have a file at the end because you're not importing anything. You're just saying, hey, this is the folder I want you to look at. I'm sure you will not do this perfectly every single time that you do it, so let's play with the error messages you're most likely to get. The first error message you're most likely to get is the result of using backslashes. R requires forward slashes in its file names. So if you give it backslashes, it gives you this used without hex digits error. The other thing to note is that you do have to spell this correctly, and unfortunately R is not sentient, although I'm sure that would lead to problems of its own. which means that it cannot tell the difference between a file that you spelled incorrectly or capitalized incorrectly and a file that does not exist. It will give you a cannot open the connection error. R is just telling you, I don't know where that is, and I think that's probably your fault. But it can't clarify any further because it doesn't know if you've hidden that file somewhere else. Okay, so now that you've learned how to import data and set your working directory, let's do the next step of exporting it. We're going to export plots, but unfortunately, unlike the other buttons in R, the export plot button does not spit out your code. It would be really, really convenient if it did, but that does mean that we're going to have to code from scratch here, which is fine. It's not that difficult of code. It's the PNG code that we're going to work with, which is going to export a PNG or PNG file, depending on your comfort with pronouncing file extensions. Mine is pretty limited, still not really sure how to say GIF. Here's a really basic version that exports a plot named wow.png. The one thing you really have to remember about these image codes, and it's the same for basically all of them, PNG, JPEG, TIFF, is that R needs to know when you're done. Because with these graphics, you can always make a lot of changes, a lot of modifications. You can add on AB line, you can add on other accessory functions. So you have to basically tell R the equivalent of graphical over and out. And that's dev.off. You can customize the size and shape of your plots using width, height, and units. If you are using a unit other than pixels, you have to actually specify the resolution because it doesn't know how many pixels per inch you want. Use the res argument. All right, that's it. You know everything there is to know about base R. I mean, kind of. You know basically everything that you need to know that you can use to build up a vocabulary. It's sort of like understanding basic sentence structure in a foreign language doesn't give you all of the words you need to know, right? So go forth, learn some more stuff. The next series is going to concentrate on some slightly more difficult skills that are related to expansion packs, because R has those. Lots of them, actually.